Yes.
Okay, when did you guys get back around to him? Reading the documents, it said June 17, 2004, the FBI discovered that the strains matched the flask. Then we got back to him about 9 months later and told him that, and he lied and said that an FBI agent had told him that later. So clearly by then it sounded like he was actually trying to lead you guys astray. He'd already given you, false specimens, those kinds of things. When did you get back around to him from March 31st of 2005 as the suspect?
It's important to remember how complex and complicated this investigation was. At the outset, we had to identify the universe of persons and labs that might have access to this type of anthrax. Once we identified what type of anthrax it was, and then over the years there were efforts to shrink the size of that pool. One of the key steps was the science that the FBI was able to develop that over time allowed them to show that that flask, RM-1029, was the parent flask for the spores used in those envelopes. That further shrunk the pool, if you will, and created additional interest in Dr. Ivins. But even at that point, the investigation still had a long way to go, because there's still a universe of people who might have access to that flask, or people with whom Dr. Ivins may have shared some portion of that anthrax. The initial science breakthrough, if you will, came in early 2005 in terms of having validated science that could be used to show the flask was the parent, science that could be used at trial, that could lead to admissible evidence. Then in 2007, as we conducted additional investigative steps, we were able to narrow the focus even further, exclude individuals, and that left us looking at Dr. Ivins.
So there was at least a 2-year delay between the forensic evidence leading to Fort Detrick and really focusing on Dr. Ivins. How big a factor was Dr. Hatfill in that, and how did the FBI get so off track in focusing on him, apparently as the sole and primary suspect?
Let me refer back to what I said. It was an extensive investigation. In an investigation of this scope and complexity, the task is to follow the evidence where it leads. The science breakthrough in 2005 leads you to flask RMR-1029. At that point, as I said, there is a tremendous amount of additional investigation that needs to take place to identify the universe of individuals who had access to that flask, what they did with it, checking lab books, doing interviews, things of that nature, and only through taking those extensive, time-consuming steps involving a lot of agents were they able to exclude individuals and include others, in particular Dr. Ivins.
Dr. Hatfield,